let's relate that back to parkour real quick. Like, if you're trying to do a jump and you know you can physically do the jump, you just don't know exactly how to get there or what the best technique is or whatever, are you going to try once and then give up? Or are you going to try twice and then give up? You're going to give it a good effort. If it's a jump that you're really, really like passionate about, which if you could like translate back to mental health, you should be passionate about getting positive mental health, because like, why would you want to live in a way where you're not in a positive mindset? So use that as like a very similar sort of tool to go, the skills that we use in parkour, kind of apply it to things like that, and take off these like bite-sized little chunks and ticks that will eventually give you more energy overall to spend in the departments that are a little bit harder. What's going on, people? It's your boys Luke,
Jesse, Omar.
We are here today with an absolute banger of a podcast. We are discussing mental health and neurodiversities, but predominantly mental health. As you guys know, it's a very, very important subject to us personally, as mental health and improving the mental health of the participants and staff that obviously work with us is one of our primary company goals. But yeah, we're going to be discussing everything around the kind of board of mental health. So kicking it off, I'll go to Jesse first. How important mental health is? How important do you think mental health is?
For me personally, mental health is such an important subject, especially becoming more and more important in regular people's lives. It's really important to myself because it's something that I've struggled with, so I have that direct relationship with it.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. When you're going through it, it definitely feels like for worse, but after being someone that's come through a very tough mental health stage, yeah. I do feel like I'm stronger for it.
Yeah, agree.
But I would definitely say that it is one of the most important things that we take for granted, because as soon as your brain starts to become your enemy, everything else in life starts to kind of fall apart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And as soon as that falls apart, everything will just kind of cascade and get worse and worse and worse. So you need to make sure that you're looking out for yourself, looking out for your mental health, and especially when you have so much going on now at these ages, that you are just taking that time to look after yourself.
Yeah.
What about you, Omar?
I think as I've got older, I've definitely realised how important it is, and how important it is to not just for yourself, but to look out for your boys and your friends and your family and stuff like that as well. I think my first, looking back now, one of my first interactions of kind of understanding what it was is I went to a basketball camp, which is called, I think it's MBC. That was way back when I was quite younger. But it was like a residential thing, and one night there was the camp leaders would always do a little thing every evening. And one night they did one, and the guy would just he's like, right, we're gonna do a back and forth thing today, and I'm gonna go, how's your PMA? And you're gonna go awesome or great or something like that. And then that always stuck with me, as PMA is positive mental attitude. And then coming back full circle now, I'm getting a bit older, I'm understanding how important that is to understand even. I think if people don't understand what it is or what's going on, that's hard to then break down and solve. So yeah, I think it's just it's really important about the awareness and helping people to help themselves.
Absolutely. How old were you when you went to those camps? Was it young, or was it as you got a bit older?
I was definitely at school, so probably 15.
Oh, okay, that's
I've definitely got a photo.
Yeah.
No, I was young actually. I've got a photo of it somewhere.
Baby Omar.
Yeah, which is interesting. But yeah, I was quite young. Yeah.
Oh, okay, no, that's good, because the younger you learn about it, obviously the better it is for yourself, and you can really integrate it into as you're growing up and understand it when it does hit especially in adulthood.
Yeah, it was interesting though that again looking back now, that was kind of a isolated incidents, but you think stuff like that should be at school. If that had carried on for me, I think I'd be in a better position now in terms of being able to help other people and being able to help myself, sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of spot it.
Yeah, which is it's strange with that one weird sporting event.
I don't know about you guys, but I definitely feel the type of mindset that you have definitely affects what goes on in the future. So for example, if you are in a really, really negative mindset and a pessimistic state, then you will attract that energy to you from other people around you, external circumstances, because you're constantly looking for what's the next thing that's going to go wrong. So definitely your mindset and how you train it is probably one of the biggest and like toughest aspects of mental health, especially when you're at a point where you're in a hole and you're like, I can't be bothered to get out. But it's definitely, it's one of the things that are increasingly more important, and is obviously in, you know, the amount of mental health problems there are nowadays are so much more than has ever been recorded previously. And it's a case of, is that because everything in society is potentially getting worse, more cost worthy, or has it actually always been like that, but we've just got to a point where we're like, why are we hiding this?
I think it's a bit of both. It is a bit of both, because as society's pushed on, instead of like, because if you think about olden days, like even medieval times, like peasants had days off. They had like 4 days off a week, just so that was literally just so they didn't revolt. Cool fun fact. But they had lots of time, whereas now you are constantly on a work schedule, and if you're not working, you're thinking about what's happening with your family, how you're going to get to these places, just even things down to like public transport and having to be on such a schedule with things. I think that does really push into it. And it's an interesting point.
I'd say like, I think it was after, I think probably both World Wars, but the soldiers would come back with what was called shell shock, which like now obviously we know is PTSD basically. So like, and they'd say they'd come back and they'd gone crazy and this and that, and like I think they didn't understand what it was then, whereas now we're kind of just scratching the surface and understanding what these things are.
I think that probably comes down to like social stigmas as well. Do you know what I mean? Like back in those days, it was very much like the men need to be men, and the women need to be women and do their womanly duties. So obviously the men didn't want to show that they had these problems, and that doesn't mean to say that women did show they had these problems, but they probably had their own reasons for not showing those problems, such as the men are the ones who are going out working, so they don't want to show that they're in that state. So when they come home, that's the first thing they've got to deal with. So
no, the same for the men. They just don't want to show that they've got that emotion because they've just been through all of this stuff. They don't want to
exactly.
So they're from both sides.
I find that like one of the things that's definitely helped me in life, in like every aspect, in like friendships, relationships, business, just all sorts of aspects, is just like being totally like open with people. And say like something happens at work and we speak to each other in a certain way, we're like, did I actually upset you, or like I don't know, I maybe perceived your tone wrong, but it seemed a little bit aggressive, kind of thing. Just having those open and honest upfront conversations are so much easier, because when you make friends, you obviously start to make like assumptions of how they should act, or you know, expectations or something like that, and it's like, why should you have those assumptions and expectations? Like everyone's different depending on the mood they're in, and you can't help your feelings are one of those things you don't choose, you just get them. I think that's one of the biggest things that's made me kind of open and aware to the fact that sometimes things that happen in life are because other people are also experiencing similar things and they don't know how to deal with it, and that definitely makes you more understanding, but can sometimes
I do feel like that is why, like especially like at shows in work, like when we're at work, if someone is having a problem or a bad mental health day, this man is basically the glowing beacon of come and talk to me, and people just do gravitate towards going to talk to him. And that kind of goes on to what you were saying earlier about if you're in that pessimistic mindset, you attract pessimistic people. But when you're in that mindset of I want to help people, I do understand, and I really am going to try and help you, you attract those people that need the help or want the help, or it allows them to open up more to really talk about those kind of problems.
I think I just try and find a way of like showing people, not even necessarily like it's okay to come and talk, because there are a lot of people out there who go, I don't want to hear that, like, oh, it's okay, come and talk to me. So like you have to approach it very, very cautiously. Like I feel like I'm
just off that energy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just one of these people who I've been through it and I hated how it felt and how it changed me as a person. And I know how difficult it is sometimes to be able to do the things that you know you need to do, which is going to help you, because you have no energy, so you just avoid them. So I try and like give that vibe to people to like let you know, like, I'm here if you need me.
I've been through it. I've got the experience.
I'm going to promote some positivity around you.
Because it isn't just the I'm here if you want to talk. It's I have these life experiences that I can share with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've been there. Here's how I coped with it, and here's how I progressed to a point where I could even manage it myself.
Doesn't mean it will work for you, but this is something that worked for me, and it's there's no harm in trying it. And if that doesn't work, then go on to the next thing.
No, there's a good point for your character as well, because you're so open about it. That is what draws those people in. But like you said, you don't do the come talk to me, it's fine. You just show them.
Yeah.
You talk about it like constantly.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly that.
I think as well, I know like from dealing with it that there are a lot of times that you want to just take yourself away completely, but you are also desperate for someone to talk to. You just physically can't initiate that, and even when someone initiates it to you, you feel like you can't give it back. So you have to kind of wait for the right moments. Yeah. So just trying to make those moments easier for certain people when you know how they are acting usually, and you see how they're acting on a particular instance.
And I understand it as well, because it might be similar for you, Omar. Like when you're in that position, it feels like a slog to have that conversation, because you're going to feel worse.
Yeah. You have
before you let it out.
And you have to relive it over and over again.
Exactly, a few times, and you just don't want to relive it, you want to ignore it, and you want to just push it to the back of your mind, but it's better out than in.
I'd say the analogy to use is like, imagine like your brain or your mental health as like a cup.
Oh, it's a bucket, yeah, absolutely.
And you're filling that cup up with like whatever negativity is coming at you, whether it be financially, relationships or whatever. Eventually, once you keep filling that cup up, what's going to happen? It's going to overflow, it's going to pour out, and that overflowing and pouring out is going to come out on mum, dad, sister, partner, dog, anyone, and you know, then you internally are going to feel worse because the guilt that you have for acting in a certain way, you're like, why did I do that? As where you have a little flow out every now and then, it may keep rising, but it will keep dipping as well, and it will keep rising and it will keep dipping, and I think that's the main thing with mental health. Like, understand there is not a turning point where bang you are like depressed or something.
Yeah, where you have it.
And there is equally not a point where you are fine, you are fixed. Yeah. Even when you are out of the darkest parts and you're in the highest parts, you have to be wise enough to know that these are your signs and symptoms of starting to get low, and recognising when it's that picture. Doesn't matter if you spend a little bit of time there. You got to do what you got to do to get out of it. But like, you have to recognise, if you don't recognise, that's when it's potentially dangerous. And I think that's why talking about it as openly and like as a community is important, because you need to be able to have those conversations to understand that people are either okay, they know what they're doing, they can get out of it, or no, actually they're not okay, they don't know what they're doing, this is their first time feeling like this and they're not sure how to approach it.
And sometimes people do need just like a little jolt to realise themselves that that's what they're going through. Because like when I first started going through depressive episodes, I didn't notice that I was depressed at first. For the longest time I was just angry and angry, and I was getting stressed at everybody for no reason. And then all of a sudden you just get those kind of really bad feelings, and then you kind of notice that, this isn't normal, something's not right. But this kind of pushes us on to like the next topic that what we wanted to go over, of we're really happy that we're seeing more and more local like businesses in the parkour community and groups kind of switch their focus to that mental health side of things. A couple to name at first would be like the New Normal brand. They've recently changed all of their like how they were just a Freerunning brand before. You probably would have seen, if you're into the parkour side of the community, that they've now switched to a lifestyle sport, and they're focusing on the mental health aspect of lifestyle sports and the positive impacts they can have. Which is really great for me to see, because seeing all of these companies that I've looked up to when I've been going through parkour start to align with what we've started with. Exactly. It kind of shows us that what we have in our hearts is the right direction. What we want to push is the right stuff that people need. And then there's like the other brands like Contendant, especially, and I'll let Omar talk a little bit about Contendant.
Yeah, so Contendant, where are they based? It's Callan.
I'm not sure where they're based.
I think it's not Bristol, Brighton.
I could be wrong. They do a lot of their events in there, and obviously they work closely with like the mental health organisations around Brighton, but I'm not sure if they're based there.
Yeah, not quite sure where they're based, but their whole brand ethos is about supporting mental health and getting people to speak. And I remember, I think it was Mental Health Week last year, they did a thing where they were selling their clothing, and like I think it was 20% or something was going straight to Mind. So they're very, very
active
and resourceful. They're always sharing stuff.
Putting back into the community,
which again aligns with us. Just going back in constantly.
It's very much like Stora though, when you think about it as well. Like the Stora Parkour Awards, completely separate from mental health entirely. But they're putting out back into the community because the community have given into them. And I think that's amazing. That's how every organisation should be, because there's so many organisations out there who just take and take and take. So
consistently, and that's what like a normal person's perception of a business is. It's just kind of someone that's looking to take something for a service.
Yeah.
But just like, it is the best thing to do is just going back to that Motors project. Community is key.
Yeah,
it always
yeah,
is
sure.
key.
Let's go on to that.
Yeah, Motors project. Unfortunately, now this is really sad for us, especially because we really looked up to the Motors project kind of as our brand focus.
Yeah.
What we saw them doing, we wanted to do for our local area, build up our own community.
Like speaking from years back as well, like
Yeah.
but way back in like 2018, where we had ideas about like podcasts and stuff, and then we'd see the idea like
And
we'd
the
see
name would
podcasts
do it.
come out. Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole
and
reason.
similarly with clothing and things
Literally,
like
I was about to say, that's the whole reason we run our clothing now, and we make our own clothing. Giles unloaded the workshop.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw that they made their own clothing. We were like, why can't we do that?
Yeah,
I'd love to do that. I've been talking about making my own clothes for years.
Do you know what? Big respect to Motors and
Absolutely.
particularly Giles, because
Full trailblazers, bro.
he's like
Trailblazers.
essentially shaped the way for things to go forward. You know,
Giles is legit a pillar of parkour. This
Yeah.
guy's been around for so long, and like I remember when we used to go to like the between jams.
Yeah.
He'd be there filming stuff.
He
There's something else before Motors.
He filmed the store as well.
Yeah, but he productions. And he did like the flow show, like
with Google, I think.
yeah.
Didn't he
Giles
go
was
out
one of
with the
those.
Storrow Boys as well?
Yeah, he was filming
Rooftop
Rooftop
Show.
Asia. This
Like,
guy's
all
like
of these different
for the community. This
Yeah,
guy is
exactly.
for the community through and through.
Yeah.
It's sad to see. Obviously, he's around the show.
He's like shaped ways for people to do things in parkour.
For sure.
Like you would never think, oh, I could make a living off of parkour from doing this in this avenue.
Yeah.
Well, Giles has done it. He's showed people that it's possible. So now, guess what? Everyone's going to start exploring these different areas and finding loads of other different creative areas because they're like, well, he's set the path for other people to kind of follow.
Yeah.
So big up, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Big
Sure.
up, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely sad to see you
It
go,
is
but we
sad
love
to
to
see
see
you
that
go,
you
yeah.
are still in the community.
Yeah.
I love that you
it's
are
more of
still there.
a trade.
I've seen a couple of like.
We just feel bad for him a little bit, don't you?
No, I don't know. From watching his videos of what he said,
I
it's like a sense of
selfishly,
relief.
I selfishly feel bad for him because I want the Motors project. I wanted it to be a
Oh,
constant.
Yeah.
Like a constant. I'd never
I
expected
feel like
it
a
to
lot of people
disappear.
feel like that. Like there was people tagging him on stories and stuff saying like day 10 of wearing my
until
products
Motors
until
come
he
back.
returns. Yeah. So you don't like let that be the the insight he needs to. He doesn't even need it, but it's a good insight to have to
absolutely.
show what he's done. You know.
Good luck with all of your future ventures, bro.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
if you're watching
bro.
this,
I've seen Stora's like
New
stories
line.
and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
So yeah, he's obviously like working with Stora now.
No,
so
definitely.
like yeah,
I'm
I'm
interested.
looking forward to seeing what they come.
I'm
come
interested
together
now
with.
to see what they come out with. I'm also very interested to see if he puts his hand in the game.
What do you mean?
Oh,
the
yeah,
game,
Stora,
yeah.
So I feel
Yes,
like he
Giles,
could-
jump on the game!
I feel like he could absolutely
Absolutely.
make some bits in that game.
Yeah.
Just
sick.
add his little flair to it.
Oh, wicked. Alright, so this kind of leads us on next to the next topic, which is I personally, when coaching it completely unrelated to like the Motors and what's going on in the parkour community now, by the way, but when I'm coaching, I've definitely noticed there are more kids that are presenting mental health problems or disorders, whatever you want to call it. It's something that is definitely more visible. And I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, it's since COVID, but I've definitely noticed it more since like the lockdown and everything like that. It's not that they're necessarily trying to hide it or anything. You know, when you just have so much experience in feeling a certain way and helping people in a certain way, you notice it straight away. You notice tiny little changes in people's attitude and their personality and things like that. And it's definitely something that I've noticed more, and I've had more kids actually openly come up and talk to me and kind of be like, look, I'm not having a good time, and they just want someone to talk to.
Yeah.
They don't always want someone to be able to go, bang this, bang that, this is like...
Here's the answer, here's the solution.
Exactly. They just want someone to go, I get it, or I don't get
it's
it.
almost just that, like,
But
I
it's okay.
see you.
Yeah.
You're there. What you're going through isn't just your own turmoil, and you're just going through this stuff. It happens.
Yeah.
You're seeing it.
And I think for any coaches out there that are potentially watching this who do teach parkour or any sport, I feel like it's okay to not question like people and go, oh, how are you feeling mentally? But kind of, if you notice that someone is act in a certain way. You know, whether it's a child you teach, or whether it's a teenager you teach, or even an adult or whatever, you can just go, hey, I've noticed you don't quite seem yourself today, is everything okay? And kind of gauge what they say from their response.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will kind of give you the answer of whether they want to let off some information or whether they don't.
Yeah.
And ultimately you have to respect that. So
a lot of kids, and especially like adults especially, they just need someone to open that door, don't they?
yeah, and
Because
it's scary.
closed,
It's
and
scary.
It's hard though, but it's like,
especially
you
the
know,
people you respect.
Yeah,
you don't
coaches.
force it open,
Yeah.
like barge in, like boot down the door.
You just want to let them
It's
know it's
like-
unlocked.
And
Slightly.
also I feel like it's about having that understanding that everyone is so different, and as where someone asking you like, oh, I've noticed you don't quite see yourself, are you okay? And that wouldn't even phase you in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, oh, I didn't hide that as well as I thought I did. For some people there'd be absolute breakdown because of that.
Yeah.
So it's like you do have to be careful, but definitely don't be scared. Like I don't know, at the end of the day, if someone takes it wrong, then just say what your intentions were. I apologise for upsetting you, I didn't mean to upset you, I was just genuinely concerned for your welfare.
Yeah, definitely. It's just
So
that
don't be scared to
communication.
challenge it.
Now, I feel like it's kind of going back on what we said by, like, as the years have got on, people have been talking about mental health a bit more. The reason that we might be seeing it more in our students is either because they have to deal with more because of just the how fast paced life is now,
Yeah.
or because since COVID there was quite a lot of media coverage, and especially like new apps and things coming out that were focusing on people's mental health, because people were struggling even more during COVID because of that isolation aspect. So it could be a fact of people have become more open to the idea because they've been through it. Now everyone kind of has that understanding since COVID.
Yeah.
It wasn't they've struggled with some mental health things and I've never had that. Everyone's been in that isolated period now.
Yeah, I feel
had that experience.
I feel like the social stigma has kind of been broken a little bit, and people aren't now sitting there and going, how are you depressed? You're 6
they
years old.
understand.
They go, regardless of what's happened in that person's life, they feel a certain way, and they did not choose to feel that way. Because if they would have a choice between feeling good or feeling bad, you're gonna feel good. You know, you're not gonna choose to feel bad. So I feel like that social stigma has kind of been broken, and people aren't now looking at people with a judgmental kind of point of view, going, you're only this age, or you've got this much experience. I feel like that is a very older generation type of thing, but I feel like that message is now being spread across to the older generations as well, and everyone is starting to get a lot more understanding, which in turn can present some problems. You know, ultimately there are going to be people out there that will use that as an excuse when it could potentially be nothing that they've ever suffered with before. So, tech issue. No, actually, not really.
It's not even a tech issue.
The SD card ran out, so we had to swap it around. But yeah, as I was saying, as kind of society's made mental health more kind of prominent and people aware of it, there definitely will be the flip side where people will start to then use that in ways that, you know, they probably shouldn't be to, for example, get out of certain situations and use it as excuses. But unfortunately, we're not in a position where we're able to challenge that, because who are we to tell people that they do or don't feel a certain way?
Exactly.
But there's problems with everything in life, and that's just one of the things that we've just got to be aware of kind of going forward when attacking anything that's mental health based.
Definitely.
But yeah, so the next topic, which is pretty much the last topic before we go on to like the set of questions that we have, is our neurodiversities, if applicable, and mental health problems. So, anyone want to go first?
Should we cover like neurodiversity just so everyone knows what it is first?
Yeah, so in terms of, I'll let you define it.
So, we've also, just coming off the back of that, I have personally noticed a lot more children coming into our services
100%.
that have a neurodiversity, whether that is ADHD, autism, or any of the other kinds that can present themselves. Those are just like the two main ones that we see. There are so many more people coming forward and they're just going, this is what I do deal with, just so you're aware. Now, again, all of these kind of back onto each other, where it's, are people more aware of it? Or is it something that's becoming a more common thing? Just constantly?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's definitely a bit of both. I feel like when I was a kid at school, it was very rare to see children diagnosed with ADHD or autism, and I feel like the subject wasn't really spoken much about until I can't even remember the age, but let's just say it was like 7, 8, 9. That's when you start to become kind of more aware of it. There still wasn't that that much of a percentage of individuals who had these kind of
like even the knowledge about
I feel like
I didn't know they existed until I was at least like
and
18.
now if
like,
you compare it,
I feel like there was no scale as there is now. It was kind of like you would notice there was the kids who back when we were at school, you'd say like the special needs kids, and then there was sort of everyone else. Whereas definitely teaching classes, you notice it's a whole sliding scale,
exactly.
and like it's not even a scale; it's like it goes outwards as well. Like,
and especially with all the different kinds of like neurodiversities that are existing.
No one's really the same.
Yeah, so like you said, it affects people differently. Essentially, it's definitely a lot more prominent now, but I think that's probably for both reasons. Because we're getting more aware of it, we've got more knowledge, and two, because it's becoming more of an increasing issue with things like anxiety and depression.
We just kind of figured out what the root of all of those kind of came down to.
Yeah, exactly.
Certain things. So just going off of that, are you comfortable to kind of have a little discussion about what you've been through personally, like with
that's really important there. I'm going to stop you, sorry, just for a quick. Always make sure, see what Jesse done, are you comfortable? There is no force at all on anyone to talk about things. If they are not ready, they are not ready. Are you comfortable to talk about this? Do you want to talk about this? So, yes, good man.
Absolutely. So I'll hand that over to you. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, so I think mine sort of stems back from school, and I think again, in retrospect, I didn't really notice where the beginning started as such, but in English in year 9, I had a teacher who I think she might have spoken to me, or she spoke to my mum and was like, I think Omar might be dyslexic, because like he always does his homework on the computer, and like when he writes it's really slow, and like loads of other like symptoms or whatever you sort of call them. And then from there I got diagnosed with that and all sorts of things. And I think, again, looking back retrospectively, as I got older, I don't feel like, I don't necessarily say I didn't have the support, but I didn't take the actions.
You didn't deal with it.
And I think looking back, like I said, I didn't really know how to deal with it, or like what was wrong with it. So I think I actually have I think it's dysgraphia and like what's the other one?
I think I actually know these as well.
I do know them.
Head. Is it the one where if someone like gives you directions, it just you physically cannot take the directions?
Definitely whatever it's called. But and I feel like
dyspraxia.
Yeah,
I thought dyspraxia was
it's kind of
muscular function for like basic motor tasks. I could be wrong.
There might be two completely.
There's like 4 or 5 of them that all start with dis, and then the ending bit all means different things. But yeah, I'd say the way it sort of affected me is like as I've got older now, I've only just sort of understood how to organise myself. So like at school, I would never do my homework and stuff like that, and like it's not because I wasn't able or like not even because I didn't want to do it. It was just like I would legitimately forget. Like there's just so much going on in my head that like
you physically could
you'd forget, and then you'd get to school in the morning like, I didn't do my homework, whatever, and I was like, and I was meant to go get my stuff for cooking, and I needed to bring sports kit in for like this, that, and the other, and then that sort of leads to like this overwhelming sensation of just like
I've got too much to do.
And I think like as an adult, the way that's still affected me now is like, even if I am and I've done everything, I've still got this overarching worry that like,
that's something
what haven't I done? I know I was meant to do this, or I was meant to do that, or something like that. So like I think I said I didn't really, apart from that one teacher at school, I didn't really have much of a support system, I would say.
Do you think that put pressure on you like in the rest of your life as well?
Oh, definitely, because that then led on to uni, like me dropping out of uni, for example. I went to uni and like there was multiple reasons why I did end up dropping out in the end, but like I think probably the secondary reason is mostly to do with like just not knowing how to organise myself and like make sure stuff is getting done at the right time and not leaving assignments to the last minute, and then just having to do like a week of just banging out assignments back to back to back. So
guilty.
It's interesting, and then again that leads on to that anxiety, I would say, of just a constant worry that have I done this? Have I done that? And then it gets to the point that you're just thinking of so many things that you're just like, I don't even know what I'm thinking of. Yeah, there's so many options that it's just like the best option is none, almost sort of thing. And it's just like, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one that I've definitely started to. I guess at different points I've tried different things, and I guess sometimes tried harder than others. But in the last few years, I've definitely been trying to get, first of all, my organisation under control. So I feel like I think for me that is probably one of the stems of the issues, because that's where that overarching sort of worry kind of comes from.
And it just stresses you out.
Yeah, and then that just stresses me out because there's just something ticking in the back of my brain like.
I do feel very similar to that as well.
Is there anything that you like specifically did like that helped you with that control? Because there might be other people that are listening or watching that also feel that way. And was it like an app or something that you use that just helped you get a little bit more management of that time?
For sure, there are definitely a million apps out there, and one thing I definitely got caught up is like trying different apps, and like this one would be slightly wrong, like nah, next app. But I've stuck to one at the moment called Todoist, and you can kind of customize how it looks, and you can have it like almost post-it notes, or you can have it in lists, and then you like tick stuff off, and it like all disappears, and you can sort them into folders and stuff like that. It's pretty good. Like, it's one of those things where like at the beginning I messed around ages getting it all set up, all pretty, right, but it's functional. Like I've got it to a point where it's functional now. I don't need to do all that messing around. When I put something in, it's like bam, tag it, it's at Spiral, has to be media, blah blah blah, and then everything's just kind of sorted in there, which is nice.
Do you find that you work well like separating things into like sections or colours or something like that? Because I find that I'm like a child. Like if it's in colours and stuff, it's in my mind, it's in a different like sort of category.
Yeah, for sure.
Even just little things like title red, like a subtitle bold black.
That's why your Excel sheets are the way they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me show you mine now. I think it's like, so like red is for filming stuff, grey is Spiral, blue is daily stuff. Like
it's all just colour.
I don't know, it just makes sense.
For me, that definitely helps. But I know like my girlfriend, for example, she just has a diary. She writes everything by hand in her diary.
Commitment.
Ellie,
you're a nutcase. How?
I can't do it. I watch her do it, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
In fact, I've got a planner. And it's in my bag, and it hasn't left my bag in the last 4 months.
I've had loads.
I used it for a month, and it really helped, and then it just lifted my bag.
Exactly like you said.
If you tell me something and you don't see me put it in my phone,
it's not getting done.
It's probably not getting done.
I know. Yeah, it's not getting done.
There's a high
even if we tell you something and you put it in your phone sometimes.
Yeah. For sure.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, it happened. But I think, I guess coming back is trying to find the stem of the problem, which isn't easy always. It's not always easy. And I guess, I don't know, I've had the time to digest and think back. And also I've had therapy as well for a little while, which definitely helped. Like, NHS, you gotta love it and hate it. Like,
bittersweet.
Political debate series coming up.
Yeah, it's good and it's bad. But I ended up, first time I had it, it was a group therapy thing, and it was me and a load of like, no offense, but they were middle-aged women, and like, I just had nothing in common with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if it was me,
I feel like it's not for you.
It's
it was more effort for you to actually go ahead and get involved with that, which then takes more energy away from what little stores of energy you currently have.
Yeah, and then there was like I kind of like spoke to the tutor person, she was like, yeah, cool, and then obviously NHS, there was a mad waiting list, but then I got really lucky and had a guy who was like a trainee, and like, you didn't get to meet them, but like, from the sound of the voice, I could relate to him, sort of thing. Like, I could tell he was my age, and then I think like, he asked me about some stuff, and basketball, NBA, immediately we had like some sort of connection like that, which was nice. So yeah, like, it's hard, you have to almost try and find like what the right thing is for you. And like, you will probably end up doing a lot of fighting and calling. And
just don't give up hope.
Don't give up. Like,
let's relate that back to parkour real quick. Like, if you're trying to do a jump and you know you can physically do the jump, you just don't know exactly how to get there or what the best technique is or whatever, are you going to try once and then give up? or you're going to try twice and then give up. You're going to give it a good effort. If it's a jump that you're really, really like passionate about, which if you could like translate back to mental health, you should be passionate about getting positive mental health, because like why would you want to live in a way where you're not in a positive mindset? So use that as like a very similar sort of tool to go, the skills that we use in parkour, kind of apply it to things like that, and take off these like bite-sized little chunks and ticks that will eventually give you more energy overall to spend in the departments that are a little bit harder. So yeah, man,
definitely.
Absolutely beautiful.
What about yourself? Are you comfortable to have a little chat about what you like, your trials and tribulations in life?
So I would say I probably realised I suffered with depression when I was about 20. I'd say I think I've suffered with it since I was about 18, but I had no idea I suffered with it until I was about 20, maybe 21. I can't quite remember. And I'm not gonna lie, it weren't good. A lot of things in life completely just flipped, turned upside down, and it was just mayhem for a little while. Like literally every aspect, from work to general life to relationships, everything, it was just mayhem, and it was hard to pull myself out of that. But now that I've done it, like I think, pretty sure you said this, now that you've done it, you know how to do it, but like
sometimes it seems so clear now, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Still doesn't
It's just it's self-awareness, you know. You have to be so aware of yourself that like you recognize when you are starting to get to that point where you're running out of energy, and realizing what you can and can't spend your energy on, and realizing when you're experiencing things that tell you I'm at this point, I'm struggling, and then to not beat yourself up about not doing things, but actually set a realistic plan in terms of like what you can hack at that current point, and then don't just stick to that plan and have to go, right, I religiously have to do this plan, because it's not going to work. Depending on how you're feeling depends on loads of different things. So that plan has to be adjustable, and you have to be okay with adjusting it, but that also does mean you have to sit there and spend time actually reflecting on what you have to do to adjust it, which is very, very difficult.
No, that's a key word, reflecting, and not just kind of looking back and bullying yourself because of things that have happened. Actually looking back at that situation and trying to figure out what happened and how to move forward.
Where to go from there.
Not just stagnating in this sucked, this was really bad, it's going to be constantly this bad.
A lot of it is also recognising when you are the problem to certain things as well, which is very, very difficult to do as just a human being in general. It's very, very difficult to hold your hands up and say, oh, I didn't do this correctly, or I was horrible to this person in this way, or something, or whatever it is. It's very difficult to sit there and actively say, oh yeah, actually I was the issue there. So I think it's about recognising when you are the problem to certain things that you do to other people, certain things that you do to yourself, and then again, like I said earlier, just creating a plan and kind of adjusting. In terms of neurodiversities, I actually had no idea that I would ever be classed as someone who suffers with, I wouldn't really say suffers, it's not really suffers, but who presents symptoms of ADHD. Now, I haven't been clinically or medically diagnosed. Personally, the reason for doing that is because I didn't see the point in trying to go ahead and take more time out of work to get doctor's appointments. I don't have a very good experience with like doctors and physios and the NHS and stuff like that.
Freerunner has.
Yeah, personally, so I'm fed up of wasting my time to not be heard, to then go ahead and speak to someone else who I pay for them to actually hear me and then help me. So it's like, I'm just going to skip that anyway. I did actually try and do it, and I think they contacted me while I was on holiday. I was in Crete, and I emailed them back, and I haven't heard anything back to this day, so I probably should call them. But you know, ADHD and that, it's definitely at the bottom of my list, and I've forgotten it until now we're speaking about it.
And now it's come back up.
Yeah, exactly, and then I'll forget again. But yeah, it was you who actually kind of opened my eyes to the fact that I don't think you outright...
I just started showing you a few pages that I really interested in, man.
I was going to say, you never outright said, you've got ADHD. You just started sending me these little... You started to become more aware of what it was and how it presents itself, etc. And you found these videos which you related to because you experienced things in the same way, a similar way, whatever. And then you started sending them to me. And I was watching them and I was like, huh. Oh, Oh, that makes
Weird.
sense.
I'm not just doing
And then there was
random
more
stuff.
and more and more and more, and it was like every single video, whilst I might not do everything in that video, there was something in every single video, and I was like, I feel like there's a common denominator somewhere here. And then you showed me like the clinical thing of how to test for it, and it was like you have to have, I think, 5 symptoms out of the 8 different boxes, and there's 2 categories, one for for ADD, one for ADHD, and yours was more like ADHD symptoms, as where mine's ADD. So like, whilst me and Jesse have the same thing, really, it presents itself in different ways. It presents itself in very, very similar ways, especially when we're doing like parkour and all together.
We're just going loopy.
Yeah, we're going loopy, but then Jesse is like a lot more active, alert, and on it. He's like, I don't know, like a rabbit in headlights or a deer in headlights or something like that. I'd say like just kind of looking around, like always searching for stimulus. His brain is always going. As where mine is like, it is doing that, and there's always something going on. I'm always thinking for something. But when I get to a point, I get to a point where I just shut down, and I'm just a statue. I'm a statue. Like, you could talk to me, I'll be looking at you, I'll be engaging in conversation. I don't know a clue what you're saying, bro, honestly. So yeah, it's something that I've kind of had to accept. Not really had to accept, but I've started to realise this is probably very likely. So although no, I'm not clinically or medically diagnosed, I feel like that is a very good possibility, which explains a lot of things in my life and things that I've done or things that I've experienced and feelings in a certain way, and has gone, oh, actually, I can now sort of process that because I understand why. And I feel like for me, that's the biggest thing. If I don't know why, fear of the unknown. So, and like Omar, I did have therapy as well, actually, and the first lot of therapy, actually, I've had a lot of therapy.
Yeah, I've
had quite a lot. I've just realised.
That realisation.
As I was talking, I was like,
so I had it once as a kid. So I'll quickly touch on this. I had this mad fear of death. I don't know what it was. Like, I was mad scared. Not necessarily of dying. It was like the afterlife. I couldn't quite grasp the concept of being here and then one day just not being here. And like, how would that feel? Because you know what they say? It would just feel like you're sleeping. I don't feel when I'm sleeping. So then they're like, well, that's how it would feel. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense in my brain.
Am I asleep?
Yeah,
Is it a dream?
exactly.
Am I conscious?
Yeah.
Am I not conscious?
I just couldn't process it. And then kind of later on in life, realising that I probably have ADHD, these symptoms that kind of link back in some way to that are making me go, rah. I kind of get it. Yeah. But therapy was definitely helpful, and shout out to Dorian and Alexis from Samson's Academy charity, who we're partnered with.
Big man!
Yeah, big man, because on top of everything that he done, he provided both me and my partner 10 weeks worth of like free therapy through Samson's Academy that was funded, and that's incredible. You know, I hadn't known him very long, and that therapy was very, very successful, and it's definitely like, I feel since that therapy, it's like I now know how to get myself out of situations. I still get to that same sort of dark, bad place, but I'm like, I'm not there as long.
You have a management system.
I have a bit better management. And even just little things, you know, as where before, like, I would literally rot. I would rot, and I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't shower, I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't do anything. It was just disgusting. I was literally, I was just an animal, and I couldn't speak, I couldn't do anything. Now, it's like I recognise I'm getting to that stage, and I'm like, bro, you need to get in that shower, get yourself some lunch, go out and just bang a couple of tricks. No matter how hard it is for me to do that, I will still find a way to do it.
Would you say that's like your best sort of thing for dealing with that early warning system?
Early warning, 100% catch it early. Because when you are in it, it is hard to get out, because your energy essentially goes like this, but you still have the same amount of whatever going on, and your energy is halved. So imagine how you felt when you had all that stuff and all that energy. Well, now you've got the same stuff but half the energy. It's going to be doubly as hard, and the more you go into that cycle, the worse it gets, which means eventually you got 2 choices. You either ride it out until you can pull yourself out, or you don't pull yourself out, and God knows what happens next.
You just keep on in that dark place.
Exactly. And realistically, I feel like, you know, without being big-headed to any of us, what we have worked for has been, to say we've got it is incredible, and that is probably one of the biggest things that keeps me going. It's like, we've actually done something that we wanted to do. How lucky are we? So that is a definite big driving force. And I feel like every time I'm in that place, if I was to just go outside, just bang a couple of tricks, I feel better. you know, I feel
100%.
better. So
Definitely the little coping mechanism.
yeah, exactly.
It's like getting that stress out, getting that aggression out, and getting that feel-good feeling.
That release.
That dopamine, exactly.
Yeah, definitely that aggression thing. What would you say, Jesse, if you're comfortable to
So, I'll go over my neurodiversity story first. So I am pretty certain that I have ADHD. Now that comes down to a couple of things. From being young at school, every teacher was like, "You've got ADHD." So I tell my mum he's got ADHD. It was a lot of he has ADHD, but no one actually went and got me saw for ADHD or like had me tested for it. But every single person that I have spoken to throughout my life has once or twice been like, "You've got ADHD, mate," or "You're a bit hyper." It's confirmed. It's confirmed. And then I happened to meet someone. I was very lucky to meet someone who is my current girlfriend called Jess, who actually had studied in ADHD and knew so much about how to test for it. I think she now has, I can't remember the exact details of what like her course was, but she has a master's in child clinical psychology that specialises in ADHD. And when I met her, the very first thing she said to me was, "Do you have ADHD? You can keep up with me. No one can keep up with. We're having 4 conversations. How are you doing this if you're normal?" That kind of really opened my eyes, because just before I had met her, I was finding these these Instagram pages that I was looking through and going, "This is all a bit too familiar.
Yeah.
This is all a bit too much me." And what cemented it for me was I have something that's called waiting mode. There's a very big
freeze state?
Yeah. So what happens is it's just a very big. There's a word for it. Can't remember the word for it. ADHD be like. So you get stuck in like a zone where if you've got something going on in the future, you're either going to do something up until that time and you're going to be very late for it, or you freeze and you can't do anything before that event happens. It's like, oh, someone's coming over in 3 hours. I'm sitting watching until they come over in 3 hours, or I'm on my chair in my phone so that I'm not doing anything for when they turn up, so that I've not put myself in that situation. And when I saw a video based on that, it just clicked. I was like, yeah, I do that way too much for that to be a normal thing of just someone's coming over, I can't do anything for the hour before. And since finding out that I have ADHD, it's really helped out how I kind of treat myself, and it's helped my mental health that way, because I can now give myself a bit of a break. So for certain things that are going wrong, or things that I've missed, or things that I'm late to, I'm still stressing about them, because obviously I'm letting, it's not what I want to do, but I'm able to go, actually mate, this is the reason why this has happened, because A this, A B that, C that, and it just lets you really take that pressure off yourself. Before I found out that I had confirmed that I had ADHD, I did go through a bit of a depressive phase in my life. A lot of things have gone wrong, similar to what Luke was talking about. I won't go into too many details, but it put me in a really bad position in life and in a really bad position mentally, because it just had me beating myself up over and over and over again. And this man here, over here, the shining beacon, was one of the main guys that really pulled me out of that.
I remember that. Literally, like it was yesterday.
It was bad. He caught onto it. He was pretty clued up about what's happening. Came and spoke to me quite a lot, gave me lots of advice. And then after finding out about the ADHD and those side of things, that has helped me kind of maintain that a lot, because I'm not putting that much pressure on myself anymore. I'm not getting angry with people because of these things, because I'm now on top of my own mental health.
Awareness, for sure. It's that awareness. And I know when you have I'm gonna call them ADHD days. Sometimes you come in and I'm just like, cool, I know exactly how today is gonna go out. Like if Jesse's in a certain zone, physically certain pieces of work which I try and do won't be possible, so I try and delegate, I judge Jesse. I'm like, cool, what sort of mood is he in, how's he feeling, am I going to be able to focus and get stuff done, so do I do this work, or are we going to be chatting, are we going to be doing stuff, so I need to be doing this work. But then I'm just as bad, he looks at me and knows what's his zone.
So I forgot to mention as well, I presumably have ADHD or ADD.
Forgot to mention ADHD be like...
But, I think I've noticed as we're all recognising our own problems, it makes it easier to work together. If that makes sense. kind of know, we come into the workshop and we know exactly what we all know this is what's happening at the workshop, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We come in, we bang it out.
Yeah.
Like, so, and even then within coaching or like camps or whatever, like, you can always look at each other and we all know what's going on through that, because I think,
and this is just like our three's perspective. Imagine there's so many other people
For
that
sure.
work for us, and like we're not there to talk about what they have and don't have, but like them guys have their own things as well. So you know, it's not just necessarily me, Jesse and Omar that you can come up to and ask for advice. You can go up to anyone you like, you know, just we're here to help if you need anything.
Sure.
And
If
we've got experience in similar things.
So exactly, like for example, even if that coach doesn't have a neurodiversity, most of our coaches do, they have been working with other people that do and speak about it very openly, so they have that understanding and they have that general idea of what that entails. So it's not just going up to someone, like we said with the NHS, that will kind of go, here's a blanket solution.
yeah, this might work.
We're like, no, we understand, we've been here, we have the experience.
We're like the honest answers that maybe not everyone would give you. We will tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. So for example, sitting there and someone being really, really like
Pandering.
like pandering, or just like being upset about something, being in a mental health kind of episode and completely not even including like therapy as an idea. We'll be able to sit there and not go, yes, do therapy, this is 100% like the one. We'll be able to sit there and go, blah blah blah, this is what it is, here are the pros, here are the cons,
From
make
our
your
experience.
your own decision. We will share our experiences with you, and you can marry up which of them are the common denominator. So for example, if all three of us say that it was a waste of time, doesn't mean it's going to be a waste of time for you, but then at least you can sit there and analyse your choices and go, well, three of the closest people around me who are very similar said it was a waste of time. If I'm similar, I'm probably going to feel a similar way, so let me explore another option first before then coming back to that option.
Absolutely.
Something like that. But kind of what you said about our staff, most of them have, that made me think. This goes back nicely onto the questions, which is the first one: correlation between people with mental health problems and participating in lifestyle sports. So like clarify, like lifestyle sports, I would say things like parkour, skate, surfing, snowboarding, stuff like that. Stuff which is I guess urban in a way.
It's stuff that you can't just go and do it. Like you can pick up a bat and a ball, you can go play cricket.
Yeah,
you can pick up a football,
need
you
to
can go
spend a
kick the ball
long
about.
time.
You need to spend a bit of time and
Yeah.
really invest yourself into it. That's kind of what I class as a lifestyle.
I think as well, it's like it's more about they're all community-based sports. Like, not saying that other sports aren't as such, but like, for example, a parkour jam or like a surf sesh, like everyone goes out, has a good time, and then there's bits of parkour done, like, or bits of surfing done. Cool, we're back. Yeah, so things like parkour and surfing, it's like you go out for the day and it's just like, it's a laugh with your mates, or it's a laugh with like the people, you meet some new people, you go to a new place, where it's like, football, you do have that, like you go play five-a-side with your mates and like you play in a league or whatnot, but it might then go to the pub or whatever, but I think, like, parkour it literally is our lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's like non-competitive sports
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like,
Sure.
with other sports you have that the goal is to go and compete. There is no goal in parkour apart from to get better at whatever you want to get better at.
Maybe you define it as a sport which is
But there is competitions.
done for the better of you and your lifestyle.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's how
that's-
you
I don't
want
know.
to do that sport.
Yeah. I guess that's how we kind of explain it to anyone who doesn't really know, but again, clearly we're not all that clued up
Yeah,
ourselves.
it's a hard definition
Yeah.
to put on.
But the question was the correlation between people who participate in these sorts of things and people who suffer with mental health problems. I'll go first, I'll make it fairly quick. I see the correlation, and the correlation is massive.
Directly
The correlation is
proportional.
massive, directly proportional, yeah. I feel like pretty much everyone who does parkour does it for a couple of reasons. Number one, fun, because if it's not fun, they're not going to carry on doing it. And number two, some sort of release. Some sort of release of anxiety, anger, sadness, frustration, whatever that is, it's a release. And the release that you get is absolutely phenomenal. So I definitely, from speaking to hundreds and thousands of people that do parkour, maybe not hundreds and thousands, a bit of an exaggeration, but hundreds or thousands of people in parkour, it is a high correlation between.
It's very obvious to see.
Very obvious.
Now, for me personally, I would say the exact same for you, that it's just that for me, it's that release, and I'm seeing that correlation more and more, and it could come down just to what I said, but like for me personally, the reason I don't do other sports like football and like those things that much is because having to compete that way puts a lot of pressure on me, and when it doesn't go how you want it to go, you get a massive frustration feeling or just upset, and there's not a lot you can do about it, because all you really get told is be a good sport.
Yeah, but not only that, in terms of sports like that, it's very reliant on a third party encounter. So as we're parkour, yes, there are some external circumstances such as the integrity of the equipment, the slippiness of the floor. The main factor is you. You are responsible. As we're in traditional sports, you've got third party external factors like how is the other team going to play? How is my team going to play compared to me?
Are they cheating?
Yeah, exactly. Loads of things like that.
Just blowing nonsense.
But more so, like, the outcome of the game is dependent on everyone's involvement. As we're parkour, the outcome is dependent entirely on your involvement, and that means it's so manageable in terms of self-progression.
And that makes it more happy for you when you just make like a tiny progression. In football, if like, let's say you're just doing target training, not even on the goal, just like passing to people, and you make that first pass, you don't really feel that good. You're just like normal. It's like oh cool, done it next. Whereas if you've just come to a spot and it's like let's say it's a brand new spot, it's a spot you've been at,
jump before,
you just do your first jump, you're like, that feels nice. You stick it. Oh, that was nice. That was a nice stick. I feel good about that. I'm going to go now do this and add on to it, and then you get to progress yourself at this own pace. You're not trying to constantly catch up to the other teams or do better than somebody. You're just trying to do better than you did yesterday.
What are you saying, bro?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a high correlation. I think on the whole, this is quite frank, parkour is full of people that are outsiders. So like they would have tried other sports and then they just weren't for them. People found parkour. It's just a load of outsiders. Yeah, all the weird
people that didn't feel like they
people that didn't fit in got like just found this one thing, and it's still to this day. It's just we're all a bunch of weirdos. I can't explain it.
We jump on bins.
Everyone is so similar. Like wherever you go, all parkour people, for sure, I can speak on, are very similar, and I think it comes down to, in a sense, being told what to do. I guess
define that authority.
But not even some people not necessarily want to defy that authority. It's the freedom, I would say. In a sense, so like you can do what you want. There's no rules within the sport. You can go out and do 5 jumps. You can go out and do 500 jumps. Like it doesn't matter. You don't have to. If you want to go home and do the conditioning to get yourself stronger to be better at you can do that. If you don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. Like it's not like.
And that's what's nice about training, because you don't feel pressured.
There's no pressure.
You don't have to be good at doing blam jumps, you have to be good at doing flips, you got to be good at what you want to be good at. If you want to be a certain style, you know what you're training for.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think, like I say, it attracts all the people that like don't fit in or want to break the rules or want some sort of freedom. It gives you sort of all of those things and more. So
notice how pretty much everyone gets on with each other as well.
Exactly.
Like, think of it this way, I'm 25, Ryan is 18. That boy's like a son to me. But like realistically, if we hadn't have met through parkour, we would have never met, and there would have been no involvement ever. But like we've made that relationship, which on a normal outside world basis wouldn't be weird, but it'd be like I'm 7 years older than him.
Yeah.
What reason would I have for hanging around with someone who's that much younger than me? So like it does give you really refreshing relationships with certain people.
Definitely. Yeah. I've never had an argument with anyone that I would consider like someone that actually practices parkour as well.
Nah, I don't think I have.
Like a proper argument. I've had like maybe I just disagree with how you've done that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Never like an actual bad feeling to that person. Just that.
I noticed as well with parkour people and like and sort of lifestyle sports, we're very, even if you don't agree with the other person, we're very logical. We're in that person's head, they would have thought, I'm going to go do this because of X, Y, Z. But in your head, you're thinking, well, I would do A, B, C. But if you can always kind of look back and remember that they're still thinking logically.
Yeah.
It's just different logic to you.
Kind of goes back to that philosophy of parkour of like there's many different routes to take from A to B.
Yeah.
You're choosing the one that fits you.
Exactly.
As long as it's efficient, it doesn't matter how you get there. So, yeah, kind of branching off from that, the exact same question, but with neurodiversities. So, what's the correlation between people with neurodiversities and those who participate in lifestyle sports? I'll let someone else go first for this one.
I very strongly feel that it does come down to that freedom aspect. Let's just take, I'm going to take ADHD for example as a neurodiversity. If someone tells me what I've got to do, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. If they tell me I've got to work on something that I'm not good at, because I'm not good at it, it doesn't give me that dopamine feeling that I need, I'm not really going to go and work on it like I want to.
Yeah.
But having that freedom to be able to decide what I want to do really motivates me to be able to get it done. So I would say that it's a very good route for anyone that has a neurodiversity to come and look into the sport of parkour or lifestyle sports, just for that freedom. And then if we go on to like another neurodiversity that I know the most about, the next one would be autism. It's that exact same thing. You can do yourself a structure if you want that will help you progress through, or you have the freedom to decide to do this structure.
Yeah.
You get to decide your structure, or you get to decide your amount of freedom. And that is what I feel would really help most people that have that neurodiversity, because coming into like a different sporting environment or a club, there are set ways that you have to do, because it's a team training thing. You have to be on the team, you have to be doing what the team's doing.
Yeah.
And if everyone else on the team doesn't have the neurodiversity and you're the one person that does, and the way that they do something doesn't really mesh for you, it just puts you in kind of a stressful situation. Not everybody, but that's just for me personally, like my personal experience.
Yeah.
I agree with you, like on that, definitely on the last point. Like I played basketball for years, and like I know I'm very similar to you guys. Is I can see what's gonna happen like
Before it even
happens. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I know that's gonna happen, and then like, especially when I was younger and I didn't really understand it, I'd get so frustrated that other people couldn't see.
And I
Like,
wouldn't listen to you.
bro, this is so blatantly,
sense.
this is so blatantly obvious. How can you not see this? Like, I could have predicted this like 30 seconds ago.
No, I used to get frustrated with it.
Yeah. That's definitely a hard thing. But I think, like you said as well about autism, I used to work in a trampoline park various trampoline parks for quite a few years, and we used to have what we call sensory sessions where kids with various different special needs would come in, and it was just their time. There was no one else in the park except for those, and I think most of them used to go and do other activities, so a lot of the kids all knew each other.
Yeah.
But anyway, I know, once speaking to one of the parents, something to do with autism and trampolines, it just goes hand in hand with...
It's that bouncing.
Yeah, the bouncing.
That sensory bouncing.
That sensory bouncing.
That push and force.
And like, after hearing that and relating it back to parkour, like, I can't really explain the sensation, but like when you like hit a massive Kong, not even a massive one, you hit a Kong, or you run, jump, and take off like that, those impacts, like these strides, it's like,
it's nice.
It's like,
it's like I did an arm jump yesterday with CJ and it was blam,
it's like
and
rhythmic.
I've ripped my hand up to shreds, and it does kind of hurt, but as soon as I banged it I was like, whoa, I know I just ripped, but that felt so good. Yeah, it's pretty mad.
And then kind of going on to you now.
Yeah, pretty much the same as what you guys said, man. It's that freedom. I feel like a lot of kids with, say, autism, ADHD or whatever, they don't fit that normal category, as you would call it. Back in when we were in school, they would be seen as the weird kids, and it's that's not something that anyone wants to be labelled as.
Yeah.
So to be able to
different.
you're just different. Everyone's different in their own ways. So to be able to go into something like that where you can do those weird things and not be judged, it makes you feel so like comfortable and relaxed. Like realistically, who goes around walking through town just touching the walls? Do you know what I mean? It does look strange. It's very weird, but we don't care. We'll do it. So it's like, it just helps you. It very much helps you with self-confidence, because you just start to think, I don't care. I'm doing what I want to do because I'm having fun. And unfortunately, there are no purpose-built playgrounds and parkour facilities in Bedford and stuff. So I've got to make the most of it, so I'm going to have to look a little bit weird if I want to actually get some enjoyment from it.
One of the funny things that happens to me and Jess at the moment is we'll be walking around, and let's say I'm in Cambridge or something, I'll literally stop dead, middle of the street, and I'll start looking at all these jumps and spots, and she'll just turn around and go, oh no, Jesse's doing his parkour vision, I'm just going to let him get on with it. I'm just
sitting
sitting there going, I can do this jump, I can do this, I can go over here.
She does get frustrated sometimes, but sometimes she's like, "Oi, have you spotted that little next to you over there?" And I'm like, "What? Jeez!" And with that parkour vision.
Vision.
It's pretty jokes.
Yeah, I think that's what brings in that correlation of seeing more neurodiversity in our sport, is because it's just a more appropriate sport.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing, for certain neurodiversities, it just becomes more appropriate.
You can just do what you want and it's wicked.
Yeah.
There's no rules. It's
No one to tell you what
no
to
one
do.
to tell you otherwise.
What more could you ask for, really?
What more could you ask?
We are kind of running tight on time. We have a couple more questions. So the next one is why parkour helps mental health. So let's try and make it like reasonably quick, but not too quick, so that like we skim over important things.
Okay.
So
I'll start with one, yeah.
Okay, cool. I think through doing parkour a long time and seeing myself and others progress and now being a coach, it's being able to take a big problem and chunk it down into small problems, and then take one of the smaller problems and chunk that down into smaller problems, and like just try and build up build it up like it's a parkour run. If it's a run with like 20 odd moves, I'd most likely not be able to bang that first time. I mean, as sick as I am. But like I will have to do sections and then put different sections together, and then like eventually it comes together. And I think I've definitely found I can do that more with life stuff now.
Like that management.
That management side of things, just breaking down problems.
Yeah, definitely. Now, for me personally, one of the main mental health like positive parts about parkour is being able to see a challenge that I've not been able to do, and then one day I can do that challenge. It physically shows me that I couldn't do that before, but now I can, or I can work towards overcoming something that I can't overcome in the future. Just being able to push towards that and having like that end goal is really helped me. And that's just my main one. I'm only going to go on one so we don't go over too much.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty. Both of those are pretty much merged into one for me. You know, I mean, I'm sure you guys feel the same. Like that was just one aspect out of many different reasons why parkour helps. But exactly like they said, you're so used to doing things a certain way in parkour that you start to translate it back to everyday life. And you know, one of my biggest things was, I always said as a kid, I saw someone do a round off double back and I was just like, what in the absolute hell? How is that physically possible? And I've never been a small dude, so my life goal was to one day land round off double back. I've done it. And you know, to sit there and go, wow, an unrealistic, stupid life goal that I thought of as a kid, I actually trained myself to actually get. So it just goes to show that anything's possible. Translate it back to life.
Yeah. You can overcome physical challenges, you can
Bombs
overcome
your
mental challenges.
One more quick point, I'm sure you all agree. Just the community itself is sick.
Yeah, really.
We go to we've been so many places. We've been to Portugal. We've been to we go to For the Love.
I went to Bulgaria. And
been to Bulgaria. I've been so many places around the world where
yeah.
I've just like found the local community, like, yo guys, can I come train with you? And they accept you with open arms.
Yeah.
Like you've known them for years.
And imagine like how society's going nowadays with like knife crime and anything. You know, we could be absolute rotten eggs of people and we could do anything, but they're just like, yeah, cool, come through, because of this love of the sport. So
yeah, people will host you. You can hit up someone in Brazil right now and be like, yo, I'm coming to Rio like tomorrow. Is there any way someone could host me? And like you'd have somewhere to sleep. No issue.
It's crazy.
They'll go through
They
the community
feed
and find
you, they
somewhere.
show you.
And
around.
regardless of whether you know, even if they couldn't host you for whatever reason, they'd be like, go to this spot, like this spot.
They will
sort
always
you out.
help you out. Like
Definitely.
community's wicked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's one of the main reasons that we end up making the mental health t-shirt, and like with the big slogan of take time to water your plants, especially because you really do need to take the time to look after yourself, look after your mental health, and go and explore, get out into these communities, put yourself out there so that you can be in a better place.
Put yourself in uncomfortable situations to get more comfortable, and then everything around you will start to improve. You cannot improve without some sort of hardship. You know, if you wanna get strong in the gym, guess what? You can't sit there lifting the same weight over and over and over again. Nothing's gonna happen. You gotta try harder, no matter what, and that's what parkour teaches you. And you get humbled by it as well. You get wrecked. So it's definitely a 2-in-1.
Now we're gonna do a little. We're just gonna say our last goodbyes, but before
hold on, there's one more question.
Oh, is there one more question?
How PK makes mental health worse?
Ooh,
so this is quite maybe like, I don't know what the word for it is, like controversial.
It's just like a little kick sometimes.
Yeah. Can I start this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me personally, it makes it worse because when I'm going through periods like I am right now, where mentally it's not all that good, but like I know how to kind of push past it, so it's not as bad as it's ever been before. I'm okay, I'm chilling kind of thing. Physically, training and everything's going really, really well, and like I'm losing weight, but I'm still kind of beating myself up because certain things are really, really difficult. Like I was doing this challenge with CJ yesterday at Free Walls, and it was such an easy challenge back in the day, but you had a grit salt bin to tack off of. So realistically, it wasn't that hard, but we didn't have the grit salt bin because the wall was broken, so we couldn't go this way, we had to go the other way. So the step up was like the size of this table, maybe even higher, to be honest. So imagine running in, stepping up, and then doing a big pre followed by a plyo. And then I was just beating myself up just because I couldn't do it, and I'm like, why am I trash? When I know that realistically, it's like circumstantial to loads of other different factors. Sure. So I feel like sometimes that is the bad thing, and you can't switch off. Like there has been nights where before I've gone to bed, I've been analysing tricks. I've been analysing tricks, and I'm sat there and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. For a scoop full, my left arm's going back, it's not going up. Let me look back at old footage. Oh, my left arm's gone up, so probably it's an injury thing, or I've got lazy, bad muscle memory thing. I'm gonna do this to change it, bro. I've had the dream in my sleep, or I've woke up. Like imagine this is me sleeping, scoot full, and it's literally like I'm awake and I'm thinking about this scoot full that I was thinking of before I went to bed. It's a sick disease. I feel like that is like one of the worst things for me, and that's it. Mic is dropped and I'm done.
Yeah, I think similar. Like I would say, social media and Instagram, and again that is a whole mad. But I would say definitely not myself. Yeah. I don't compare myself to other people, but some people do. I compare myself to myself.
It's rotten.
Which is like Luke said, oh yeah, I used to be able to do that. Yeah. And then it's like looking back now, I'm like, okay, well I have had shoulder surgery, so yeah, of course I can't do that anymore. So yeah, I'd say in that way, you beat yourself up a lot because we're such logical thinkers. If it gets to a point and something's not making sense as to why it won't go, we will beat ourselves up about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd say probably that.
And then the last thing is obviously injuries, because as soon as you broke yourself from doing the thing that you love, you can no longer do the thing that you love or use as a release. Yeah. Take myself for example. I've been pretty good this injury at keeping my mental health quite up there. Yeah. But I'm now coming up to my 6th month and I can feel it starting to get to a point where I need to move. If I'm not going to move, that's it, I'm going to lose it. But no, that injury and being able to kind of take that as part of the parcel of you do parkour, you're going to get injured, you need to do this rehabilitation stage and go through this slog to get back to where you were. Yeah. And I'll leave that there because we are very tight on time now. Yeah. Just as like a final goodbye, before we say goodbye, if you are struggling with any of these things that we've gone over or anything at all, you can come and talk to us at Spiral, or there are other places out there where you can talk. One of the best resources at the moment that we've seen is on Contendant's website. They have a big list of all of the mental health websites that apply to all of these different either neurodiversities, mental health problems, or just general life problems.
I think they have them per country. I think they have them per country. I think that's a lot of the world.
So even if you're in a different country, you can go and look at what...
Apologies guys, the SD card on the camera was full again for a second time. Clearly we love to chat away. But that is the end of this podcast. It was a really important podcast to all three of us as coaches and as individuals, and to everyone else within Spiral Freerun. So be sure to check out the resources, and peace. We'll see you in the
Don't forget, water your plants guys.
See you guys, take it easy.